Hello everybody. So I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. I have to hurry and get somewhere, but just got out of the shower. So wanted to give a oh shit, there's of course I get behind someone slow. Anyway, so wanted to talk a little bit about my methods of typology. And here at the Mike Hart channel, we like to get to the heart of the matter, the H-A-R-T of the matter. And there's a lot of nonsense out there. Some of you have seen my other videos talking about cognitive functions and how people misuse them. And, you know, there's some misunderstanding there. Some people think what I mean is you should never use cognitive functions at all. They think, oh, well, you're talking about cognitive functions in your videos, but then you're saying people shouldn't type by them. Yeah, well, I think you can talk about them. Never said you can't talk about them. But I think it leads people to mistype others. And I think there is an accurate interpretation of the cognitive functions. And I simply think that there's too much disagreement in this area. People kind of make up their own ideas on the cognitive functions, and that's what gets you into dangerous territory. Not only that, according to studies, the highest correlations they've been able to find on this subject are the dominant function and the inferior. So that's why you will see me usually, if I talk about the functions, I'm talking about the dominant, because that is the one that is most scientifically verified. Man, I am behind a lot of slow people when I'm in a hurry. What the fuck? Sorry, excuse my language, but what the hell? It's like these giant trucks and I'm in a major hurry. Anyway, so yeah, I think you can talk about them. I just don't think it should be your sole method for typing. I don't think you should type people based on, you know, all this crazy theory about all the all 8 cognitive functions. I think, first of all, you should keep it simple and maybe talk about a dominant function mainly. But I think you should start with other things like temperaments and actual, you know, letter dichotomies. Like, for example, when people are talking about sensing versus intuition, this is where a lot of people get confused and have a lot of inaccurate ideas. And the inaccurate ideas comes from overcomplicating it. You need to keep it simple when you're typing someone. So what is intuition? What is sensing? So sensing is your 5 senses. That's basically what it is. And so intuition, you're basically talking about the concrete versus the abstract. Intuitive types talk a lot about abstract, the abstract, love and hate and ideas. Sensing types are much less interested in abstract ideas. It's just the way it is. And they're interested to a point. Just like intuitive types can sense, are just as capable of using their sensing. Sensing types are capable of using it too. It just doesn't hold much interest for them for very long. So if you are primarily interested in abstract subjects, and you use a lot of abstract words and speech and metaphors, you're simply not a sensing type. And if you think you are, you're mistyped. Plain and simple. And that's an example of keeping it simple. I am also a big believer in deductive reasoning when it comes to figuring out someone's type. So I don't think you should start from the ground up. I think you should start from the top down and start crossing out ideas. And these guys are going extremely slow. Like, what the hell? There's no way I'm going to make it on time. What luck, right? So anyway, yeah, I think you should keep it simple. I don't think I've ever been behind like 3 giant trucks in a row when I'm in this much of a hurry. It's just like, what luck. So what was I saying? Yeah, I think you should keep it simple. I think people overcomplicate it way too much when they're typing people. The people who are the best typers are the people who keep it simple. And if you're going through each four, I mean, if you're going through like the top 4, the top 8 cognitive functions in your breakdown of typing someone, you see a lot of people do that. I just don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's an accurate way to type someone. I think it's just way too subjective and open to interpretation. There are ways to keep things more objective and observable and based on observable information, rather than your crazy ideas, which may be valid. They may or may not be valid, but I think you should kind of keep that kind of stuff away from the subject when you're actually typing someone. Anyway, so keep it simple, guys. You know, like for example, sometimes I'll come up with quotes. I think it's kind of fun to come up with quotes, and a lot of people have complimented me on my quotes that I post on social media. Like one of them was, beauty is the perfect disguise for a hideous soul. And the people who resonated most with that, it's a very abstract quote. Beauty is an abstract word. Soul, spirit, dream, things like that are abstract words. Some things, quotes and words that almost have like a mystical qualities to them, they will usually resonate more with intuitive types. And sensing types, they'll like them too, but sometimes you will notice sensing types almost be like, well, what is that supposed to be, kind of thing, you know, like when you use abstract language. You'll notice the sensing types too, if they're interested in abstract subjects like typology, for example, they usually don't have as much energy for talking about it. So they may be interested in it, but they won't want to delve as deep as an intuitive type. They'll want to quickly come back to more concrete sub-subjects. So there's a lot more we could talk about in this. And I think people get especially intuitive types, have a tendency to get way too caught up in their own theories on the subject, and where they really need to keep it simple and stick to the basics and stick to the commonly held, I think in this situation, if you're disagreeing with widely held beliefs, the widely held position on typology, you really got to have a lot to back it up. You got to have something to back it up. You can't just disagree based on nothing. So it's widely accepted, for example, that feeling types are susceptible to manipulation. That's pretty widely accepted, because sometimes with feeling types, they will listen to people if they're showing emotion. If they're crying, for example, they'll listen to the person and they're susceptible to believing the person just because they're showing emotion. Whereas a thinking type typically will not do this. Thinking types by nature remain skeptical. That is the nature of thinking type. If you were to summarize a thinking type into one, describing it that simply, that's what you would say is disagreeing with people, basically. Thinking types disagree with people on principle, automatically. It's almost like they keep the skepticism there at all times. So feeling types don't operate this way. Feeling types have a tendency to want to believe people and agree with people. And they can see thinking types as unnecessarily skeptical and distrustful of people. But it's just the way thinking types are. It's their nature to distrust what people say. So there were some people on Twitter arguing with me recently saying, because I said something like that feeling types are susceptible to manipulation based on emotions. If on emotional manipulation, they're highly susceptible to this. And susceptible doesn't mean every single feeling type is going to be this way. The more developed ones will be a lot better in this way. But that's something feeling types have to work on. They need to check themselves in this area. They're highly susceptible to being emotionally manipulated, especially in the political arena. If they see a politician crying about a subject, doesn't matter how full of shit the politician is, they're susceptible to believing, to getting caught up in that feeling. And I actually think it's really messed up thing for politicians to do, to manipulate people in that way. And there's certain types that are more easily manipulated by stuff like that because they feel things so strongly. So anyway, and these people are disagreeing with something that is just a fact, and they're asking me for like studies to back up my idea that feeling types are more susceptible to emotional manipulation. I mean, doesn't everyone know that? I was actually surprised that anyone could disagree. But what you will find, though, is the only people who disagreed were feeling types that just didn't like the idea of one of their potential weaknesses being pointed out. I said that in my last video, that's a common problem in the type community, is people just want to over-focus on the positive qualities of their type and just glorify their type rather than, talking about... Let's get real, guys. Let's talk about the real issues. That's the only way you can grow, is by talking about your weaknesses. So, I'm going to be focusing on growth. So if you're not interested in growth, meaning you have to face some of the uncomfortable stuff, then I'm probably not the right channel for you, because that's going to be my focus. I'm going to tell you it like it is. I'm honest about my own weaknesses, and I want you to be honest about yours. And I'm not going to tolerate any bullshit. So that's how I'm going to be running this channel. So I know a lot of you like that about this channel, but those of you watching who don't like that and, like to be just told what you want to hear, this is not the channel for you. So I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. Be real with you. And if you think I'm wrong, fine. Disagree with me all you want. That's great. I love that. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to give you the best information I have, guys. So, gotta go, guys. Thanks for watching.